Wildfires are sending many from their homes right now, forcing families to pack up and leave at a moment's notice. The situation can be extremely tough for everyone involved. But the question is, how do you explain these wildfires to children? So for more on this, we're joined by Todd Cunningham. He's a clinical and children's psychologist, and he joins us today from Gravenhurst, Ontario. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
So the question then is, how do we even approach this subject? How do you suggest we open up this conversation in the first place?
Yeah, and these are important conversations to have with our kids. You know, the first thing we have to do is, as parents, we have to check in with ourselves to make sure that we're staying calm, because our kids look to us as sources of reassurance, like, is things okay? So therefore, either they're going to ask us these questions, you know, they might have seen the news and they might be thinking about this or hear it from a friend, or sometimes it's important for us just to ask them the questions. Hey, have you heard about the fires that are going on? To get the conversation going.
There are a lot of images circulating out there, of course, in the news, on social media. Should we, as parents, be shielding our children from these? How important is it to balance showing them what's going on without avoiding the topic altogether, but also not showing them too much potentially?
Yeah. We definitely want to kind of minimize the amount of exposure that young kids have to media in general, because they don't understand what's going on. Like, the big thing that kids are often thinking about is, am I safe? Is this going to happen to me? And that's why it's important, if they have seen these images, for us to get into these conversations to help to contextualize what this is actually looking like. A lot of times kids have questions about what's going on, and we need to be honest with them. Sometimes we need to show them on maps that this is happening on the other side of the country. Or if it is close to home, talking about who are the people who are going to help us and keep us safe, so that we're going to be okay. But the big key thing is always coming back to a point of reassurance with kids, listening to them, validating their fears that they might be having, and then giving them the facts that they need to have, or clarifying any pieces of information that they haven't gone right.
Contextualizing is really so key, because that is the question. Can that happen to me? How close is this to where we are? And if we are in another province, of course, it's easy to explain. But how about for those young children who are not only seeing this firsthand within their own communities and towns and provinces, but also those who have to actually physically leave their homes as a result of evacuations of their towns? How do you talk to kids who are dealing with that right now?
And that's a very different conversation, because now there is an actual kind of threat around. And so the key thing is going down to, what is the safety plan? Who are the people who are helping us? Keeping us as a family unit together, and talking about the priorities. You know, we're here to look after us. We have stuff that we might lose, but that's only other stuff. We can replace that stuff. We're going to work together to keep us safe. And these are the people around us who are going to be helping us out. Now, it's important for all parents to monitor their kids. Sometimes if we see real changes in behaviors, becoming more aggressive, or even being more quiet or withdrawn, we need to kind of check in more with them, or even look for professional help, because they might be going through more emotional pieces that they might not be willing to share with us.
Is there a particular age group where they might be showing these signs in a way that's more obvious, compared to perhaps someone who's much younger, a 3-4-year-old, who might be displaying their stress and anxiety in other behaviors?
No, all kids kind of, what we're looking for is those changes in behaviors. We know our kids, and when we see our kids kind of really showing new sets of behaviors, then that's when, as parents, we really need to kind of check in more. Now, one thing that's really important that parents can do, even as helping kids during showing these behaviors, even before they show these behaviors, is to help give them a sense of autonomy. So one of the things that kids often worry about when they're in these situations, or they see kind of news, is that they feel out of control. They're kids. They can't influence these things. And so it's wonderful when we can even do activities. Like, think about things that we could do to help kids who have been impacted by this. Some kids like to do art projects, or I know my girls, they've made posters one year to put up about the wildfires, to inform others about climate change. But when kids can have a sense of autonomy, a sense of that they are doing something to help others, or that they're trying to take control of the situation, that can really help reduce their sense of anxiety, their fears, because now they're not just passively being here, but they're actively helping out.
What are your tips for really young kids who are still not able to completely understand or process exactly what's happening? You know, what are some key takeaways you think parents should have here in addressing what's going on there without telling them too much that might scare them or might be too hard for them to understand?
Yeah, again, we want to shield them from the media, really kind of, if something's going on, flip the channel. Often we have the news going on when we're cooking, but as we see stories coming up, we just kind of change the channel very quickly. We can also look to their drawings or how they're playing. Often really young children, we see this, what's on their mind coming out in those mediums as they draw. They might start drawing more fire-related scenes, or in their play, you might be seeing kids trying to escape houses more. So therefore, we want to go again and talk about looking for who are those safe people in our communities, helping kids to identify firefighters, rescue workers, and talking about how important they are in our society to look after us, and talk about how as parents, we're here to look after them. Again, the main question that little kids have is, am I safe? Is this world safe around me? And who are those people who are helping to keep me safe?
How important is it then for parents to make sure that their kids know that that conversation is always open between them at any time if they're feeling any particular way about what they're experiencing or seeing in the news?
Oh, it's very important. Anytime kids come to us that we have a question, we need to stop, turn to them and listen to them and hear them. And again, we want to kind of hear what they're talking about. We want to validate how they're feeling about this. And then we want to correct any of those facts, because that's a big piece. Again, kids don't necessarily have all the facts, so we need to correct those facts for them. As well as it's important for us as parents to check in with our kids, ask them questions about, have you heard about the forest fires? And many times the kids will go, nope, haven't heard anything. And that's it. You just kind of go on. Or they might say, oh, what are you talking about? And you don't have to give a lot of information. Like, these conversations do not have to be half-hour conversations. They really need to be check-ins, or quickly getting to the facts, seeing how they're doing, and then moving on with your regular day.
Todd, I want to thank you so much for your time and your tips for so many families who are likely wondering how to help their kids get through what is a very stressful time, especially for those in these impacted provinces. Thanks again. That's Todd Cunningham, clinical and children's psychologist. And if your children are struggling, they can reach out to services like the Kids Help Phone. That number is 1-800-668-6868.